creating some kind of freedom where your business isn't reliant on you, firstly involves just...
Jodie Cook isn't your typical founder. When she's not building AI coaching platforms or sharing insights with millions through Forbes, she's crushing it as a competitive powerlifter for Great Britain. After selling her agency for 7 figures, she's now revolutionizing the coaching industry with CoachVox, turning thought leaders' expertise into AI-powered mentors.
It lets them use more of their coaching superpowers and leaves the rest to AI, which is kind of the dream.
Whether she's lifting heavy weights or living the digital nomad life across the globe, Jodie proves that success knows no boundaries.
You don't need to be a multimillionaire to live your dream life. You just need to know what your dream life looks like, and then you need to make enough money to live it.
Get ready for an inspiring conversation about breaking limits, both in business and in life.
Once you do that exercise, what you might realize is that you're already living a lot of your dream life.
Hey Jodie, welcome to the Entrepreneurship Show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. And I want to dive straight into the question that I always wanted to ask, and I probably never did. If I met you on the street and I want to chat with you for about 1 hour, tell me, what should I know about you to continue listening to you for 1 hour?
Sure. So I'm a digital nomad. I've been a full-time digital nomad for about 3 years. Before that, I was a part-time digital nomad for another 5 years. Travel is like the center of my world. I set up everything so that I can travel a lot. I also train a lot. I compete in powerlifting for Great Britain. So that's the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. And then I also run a business. So I previously, when I was a part-time digital nomad, ran a social media agency that I had for 10 years. I sold it in 2021, spent a couple of years figuring out what to do next, doing more traveling, and then became a full-time digital nomad and a SaaS founder in 2020. And then I also have a column in Forbes. So I'm a senior contributor for Forbes. I've been writing there since about 2017. I write about entrepreneurship, AI, and also lifestyle design, which includes how to run a business and travel the world.
All right. So 1 hour might not be enough for this. We need probably a week or so to wrap on all these topics. But yeah, we'll try to see how much we can cover, because there are so many questions that I want to ask you, especially on AI and how you put that SaaS together. But I'm also more familiar with the agency model because I'm still running that type of business partially. And I know that you exit that and you systemize that in a way to allow you to travel and to allow this lifestyle and building around your lifestyle, not the other way around. Can you go a bit into that? Because a lot of people are getting stuck, especially when going that business model and they are too trapped in the business. What were the first steps to do so?
The first step was the awareness that I'd set up a business to travel the world. And I was 3 years in and I hadn't even taken a single holiday. And I was in this position that probably a lot of people have been in, where first of all, they have one client, then they get more clients, and they get more after that. And then they hit this crossroads where they think, right now, I could keep doing this and I could just be a solopreneur, be a freelancer for a long time. Or they take the other route, which is what I did, where I started hiring. So about 8 months in, I started hiring a team and built it up from there. But 3 years in, all my clients relied on me. All my team members relied on me. And I just felt like I had no time at all. It was like nothing happened without me getting involved in some way. So there was no way I could be in another time zone at all. There was no way I could be even in another city at all. It just made no sense. So when I realized this is a problem, the first thing I actually did, which is quite extreme, not everyone might want to take this step, but I booked a 5-week trip to Australia that was 3 months in the future. And Australia is like an 11-hour time difference to my agency. So it was a big step to take that, to book that trip. And then I gave myself a deadline to sort everything else out in the meantime. And that was my deadline for systemizing the business and making sure that at least some of it could run without me. Because the thing was, I had such a capable team. They were all very, very capable of doing their jobs. It's just that I'd almost trained a reliance on me that I knew I needed to get rid of, and I needed to help empower them to do their jobs really well, and to train my clients not to need me, and to also figure out a way of actually growing the business without me being part of every sales process as well. So the first thing I did was I created a spreadsheet, and it was so simple. It was just a simple spreadsheet. There was no fancy software whatsoever. It was 4 columns. The first column was every single process that happened in my business. And I think there was probably about 60 of them. It was everything, even the tiny, tiny little things that I was in charge of. I wrote them all down. Column B was who did it now. And in column B, pretty much was all my name. Every single row was just Joe, this is what I do. And then column C was who should do it in the future. And so for that, I wrote either someone else's name who I already had in my team, someone else's name, like a new role that I wanted to hire, or I wrote a name of a software down, or I just wrote like, stop doing this, because it was something that actually didn't even need to be done. I was just making myself busy for no reason. And then column D was the deadline. It was when are you going to do this and what needs to be done? So column D became my to-do list before I got on that plane to Australia. And that was the systemizing, like that was how the systemizing started. And then I turned that entire spreadsheet into SOPs for how to run my business, which took ages, freaking ages. But the thing is, you do one and you show a team member, and then they figure out how to do it as well. And then for the next one, you're like, oh, maybe they could write the SOP, and maybe I could teach them how to do something, and then they could create the SOP as we go. And then one by one, bit by bit, I started freeing up my time, and other people started doing their thing. And then I started having more time, and the trip to Australia felt more like it wasn't going to be an absolute disaster when I did it.
What I love about this is the simplicity that, at least on the surface, looks like. I know it wasn't easy, like you mentioned, it took ages, but in the same time, just having that clarity and starting the fact that at the end of the day, you cannot do everything, and especially if you want to have that freedom of going 11 hours away in terms of time zone and so on. So all those together, like you start listing the things that you are doing, and you realize like, oh my God, yeah, I'm doing so much in the business, and identify the things that you're not supposed to do in the first place. And I want to tap into that because I know a lot of people get stuck there. Like they are just, like you all said, making themselves busy without any particular reason. How do you identify what to focus on? Because we are all familiar with the Pareto principle, but most of us fail to apply it.
Yeah, this is super interesting actually, and it's changed a lot now as to what it was then for me. And I actually teach this right now. So I run a company right now called CoachVox, and we make AI coaches, and I teach coaches how to use AI to grow their business. So with my platform, they make an AI version of them that can do a lot of their marketing. But part of that involves, well, what do you actually want to do? And like as a coach, you want to coach, you want to free up all your time so you can just use your coaching superpowers and get AI to do everything else. But even back to 2011, that's when I was thinking, I just need to use my superpowers, and I need to figure out what isn't my superpowers and get other people to do those things. So I really think the ego gets so in the way, especially when maybe it's our business, maybe my initials were the name of the business. And so there was this big sense of it needs to be me because people expect it to be me, because I need to keep quality high, or because of all these reasons that you just make up to hold on to things. But I think that becoming a digital nomad, or creating some kind of freedom where your business isn't reliant on you, firstly involves just getting over yourself, and then involves recognizing that someone else is going to do something and they're going to do it differently, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. You don't actually always want to create clones of you. Sometimes you do want their kind of flair, you do want their creativity, as long as it's within the quality, the high standards that you expect. It's actually probably a really good thing that they've got their slightly different way of doing something that then a client can learn to love after that. So the first time I gave something to a team member that was very, very me, I remember there was this big learning, this big kind of hurdle that I had to get over, where the first time they showed me something and it was different to what I would have done, I had to stop being like my first reaction, which was, oh no, I need to do it. I need to take it back. And that's the hardest bit to get over, because once you think, oh, okay, slightly different, but yeah, I can actually see, well, actually, this is better, or this is different, or I still need to train them to do this, then you can see the way forward a lot more. And so as soon as that started happening, I got in the groove of doing that, and then I could keep doing that with the rest of my spreadsheet. So it's just that milestone to get over. But I think that not getting over that will just keep your business reliant on you and ultimately keep it small.
I hate to admit this, but I went through a similar experience. I hate to admit it because it took me years to actually go over that perfectionism and to think that I'm the best at what I do. And in reality, that's the thing, we are not. And there are always things that can be done differently or better than us. And it's hard, right? When you, as you mentioned, when it's your name there and it's your business and it's like kind of your baby that you put so much effort into building it, and then you kind of let go control and other taking care of it. And still we have to like, and not just being digital nomads, but building a business that support us, not the other way around, in which we are all the time there trapped into it. And that's just a well-paid job. And speaking of jobs and going a bit before you build everything in your business, did you have any full-time job that you work in? I'm curious to see if you grab something from there that helped you go further ahead in your career.
Yeah. So I started my agency when I was 22. Before I was 22, I'd had 15 jobs.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, I had a lot of jobs. And the year before I started my agency, I had 2 full-time jobs at the same time. I worked a year, 2 full-time jobs, because I just wanted to make money so that I could save it, so that when I started my own business, I had stuff to rely on. And I wasn't under pressure to make my own business a success straight away. So yeah, a lot of jobs. I mean, they all taught me very different things. I worked a lot of jobs in hospitality. I honestly believe everyone should work in hospitality because it teaches you that nothing actually matters that much. You can deal with much more than you think. You can multitask. How you treat people is the most important thing. And it also teaches you just to have perspective, because I worked in a pizza restaurant, and sometimes it would feel very high stress, like it's really warm in there and everyone's shouting at you and everyone wants something and you have to remember a lot of things at the same time. And then at some point you're like, guys, it's just pizza. Like, it's okay. It's really not that big a deal. And then one of a really, really good experience was working in a very small company. So 3 team members for someone called Simon. So it was his business. And that showed me the inner workings of a very, very small team. And I think there was something about that that made me think, I could do this. I could do this kind of setup, and it doesn't need to be a really big complicated thing. He was kind of a middleman. He was buying stuff and he was selling it, and it was like promotional mugs and promotional t-shirts and that kind of thing. So each job definitely taught me something. But I would say the last year of having 2 full-time jobs, one in a restaurant, one in an office, that office experience definitely was like, I don't want to do this. This is not me whatsoever. Um, I didn't like having to be somewhere at a certain time. I didn't like working with people who I didn't think were very good and not being able to do anything about it. I hated office politics. There was such a strange culture of people like emailing each other with like office gossip, and it was just, yeah, it was not the one at all. So I think you always have to have those experiences just to make you think, I'm really going to do something about it to mean that I can avoid this forever and ever.
That's funny, right? When you end up in a position that you learn what you don't want to do, what you try to avoid, I think sometimes much more powerful than just all the skills that you can accumulate in a job. But speaking of skills, those that you mentioned, maybe the client-facing roles in you just are face-to-face with the customers. Doesn't matter if it's in hospitality or other roles, but that interaction, I think, is so much valuable because you can learn so much from how others see things, like the different perspective you share. Like, I think that's totally underrated way to progress in your career. And I'm glad, to be honest, that I asked that, because now I see how that shape your career moving forward. And speaking of that, because you fast forward from exiting that agency, becoming a digital nomad, and now tapping into this huge potential that AI is. And I love to learn, how did you come up with the idea because funny enough, I chat about the same idea and then found out about you by researching the topic. And I was like, wow, people are actually already implementing this. How was your experience with that? How did you come up with the idea to build CoachVox?
So in 2021, in March, that's when I sold the agency. I was so keen to not just jump into the next thing because I knew that whatever I started would just be the wrong thing. So I didn't let myself buy any domain names. I didn't let myself start any new businesses. I didn't let myself do anything at all. And for anyone listening that's got a crazy domain name bill, that's actually really hard not to not to buy domain names when you think of a really good idea. But I just did not let myself because I just had this thing in mind of don't move until you see it. Just think first. So just take your time. And then after I'd sold my agency, I guess it was the natural thing that some other people I knew who also wanted to sell their agency were asking me how to do it. So I was doing a little bit of kind of coaching, mentoring, just like helping people out and helping them to do what I'd done to sell. And when I was doing that, I realized that nearly everyone I was coaching, they pretty much all had the same questions and they pretty much all had the same things that they needed to do. And so often I would at some point send them something on my website with a blog that I'd written, or I'd send them to like a specific video, or I'd kind of have all the stuff that I'd already written or already said that I'd just referenced for them. And then I was like, hang on, does this need to be a synchronous conversation where me and you are talking? Or could it be that you could get like, maybe not 100%, but could you get like 60% of the way there just from almost just talking with my content because all the teaching's there and I know exactly what your challenges are? And so that was around the time, when was that? That was kind of mid 2022 when it was we kind of started this business that was a different iteration of CoachVox, like the first iteration of CoachVox. And that was all around coaching by voice note, which is actually quite different. But I was doing that a little bit as well with clients. And then in December 2022, when ChatGPT came out, I remember checking it out for the first time and just being like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is super, super cool. So quite quickly, I joined a mastermind with entrepreneurs who wanted to figure out how to use AI. And I was like just pumped to learn as much as I could and immerse myself in this whole thing and figure out like a business out of it. But the first thing that we did with just this technology, with the kind of chat technology, was we created an AI version of me. And the idea here was that we take my content and writing and everything that I've written, and we create a Jodie AI that can teach people how to sell their agency, and it could teach people how to do all the stuff that I'd done so that they didn't need to kind of book me because I was traveling and in different time zones, and that they could get help. And so when we created that, it was really good. And people started using it and people started really liking it. And the feedback I was getting was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And it wasn't replacing me. It was like I was still doing the sessions, but then it meant in between my clients didn't fall off track because they had this sounding board that they could go back to. And then we started to have people being like, well, how do I get one of these in me? And then it's quite cool when your business comes from people asking you to do it and saying like, no, this is what I really want. So then with the development team that we'd started working with, we started building out a way for any kind of coach or consultant or mentor with content, with like proven methods, frameworks, things that they'd already written and produced. They could create an AI version of them that could do the same thing. And then right now, a lot of our coaches, they will use their AI for coaching their existing clients in between sessions, but mainly it's a marketing tool. Mainly it gives their potential clients a taster of their methods and is a lead magnet on their website without them actually being there. So it lets them use more of their coaching superpowers and leaves the rest to AI, which is kind of the dream. And something that I really love that we've realized that a bunch of our customers kind of have in place is they haven't got a team. They don't need a whole team. They need themselves. They need their VA and they need their AI, and they build their AI with CoachVox, and they're the ones that we create.
What I love about this approach is that you kind of multiply yourself, right? Like you put yourself in a position that you can help them without being there. And I think if this doesn't open a creative possibility of people thinking how to leverage it, I'm not sure what can. And on that note, like, What do you believe is the next step in this process of getting help by this technology to advance into a position where you, like you mentioned, you just need a VA? And I'm not talking here just about coaches and consultants, but in general, like solopreneurs that are running even service-based businesses. They can use AI agents, or they can use other potential ways in a way that they can multiply themselves and focus on the human touch, focus on those one-on-one sessions that truly matters, and let the rest AI do for them. How do you see this approach?
It's really good for coaches and consultants who want to make more impact without being busier, because they're just they're probably already working quite a lot because they're good at what they do, but they don't want to just work all the time because they also want to enjoy their lives. So it definitely works in that way. But also, the interesting thing just about AI and about the kind of help that you could get from it is that generative AI and like large language models in particular, if you are going to ask them for advice, what you're going to get back is going to be so unbelievably generic that it's probably not going to add any value at all. And so one of our coaches actually springs to mind because he's a relationship consultant. And so if you asked ChatGPT what makes a healthy relationship, it would give you like rules for a healthy relationship, and they would be very, very generic. And it would be like, never go to sleep on an argument, or always be kind to each other, or always like it would just be like the rules. But if you ask Steph, who's one of our coaches, if you said to him, what are your rules for a healthy relationship? He would say, like, well, actually, you should go to bed on an argument, and here's why. And you should do this, and here's why. And he would have his own very strong beliefs. And his audience, his clients, they work with him because they want those strong beliefs. They don't want the generic stuff. So it's almost like, yes, the tools are more available. Yes, you could use whatever you want to get help and advice. But ultimately, people buy from people and people want people. And the reason that we follow like gurus and experts is because we want their belief system like to be ours, and we want to use that as well. So it's just a whole interesting time, because I think at the start of like when ChatGPT first came out, there's a bunch of um, agency friends I know who like lost clients because their clients were saying, hang on, we can do this now. And then a year later, they come back because they're like, hang on, actually, no, you do need to be an expert. Like, you can't just completely replace everything. And now we've got really bad content and we had really good content before. And it's the same with coaching. I love the idea that the coaches that use AI to clone themselves are like future proofing themselves and are able to reach more people and spread the message that they've spent like so long creating without having to spend any more time. So it's just like it's such an exciting time for this whole field. I really, really love being in it.
And I want to add here maybe a contra argument in the sense that, yes, you can have like almost identical copy of yourself in which you can make your potential clients, if you're using for marketing, or your actual clients feel that they're talking to you. But if they know that they're still talking to a robot, won't they feel neglected? Or won't they feel that they're not getting the return on the investment? They won't contest the answer they're getting from the AI.
I thought that too at the start. I was like, it's a robot. Like of course they know it's a robot, and we've had requests from people who want their clients to not know it's a robot, but we don't do that. Like, it's very obvious, and we make it very clear that it is. And so I wasn't sure at first, and that's why we built one prototype, because it was like, let's just try this. Let's make Jodie AI. Let's see how it goes. But then what has come out is that people don't actually care. It's like people don't ultimately care if something was written with AI. They care if it's good. They care that they're going to get something from it. They care that it's not going to waste their time. And it's very, very similar with AI coaching. They don't care that it's a robot. They care that it's helping them and it's adding value, and it's on the belief system of the person that it's based on. And even since then, I've realized that AI coaching isn't even actually that weird. Like, a friend runs a AI dating company where he basically creates AI girlfriends for people who want to practice getting good at online dating. So the idea is that you don't waste all your skills on real girls. You just use them on AI. And so then you can get good and you can figure out how to get people to agree to go on a date with you or whatever, just using AI. And what he's finding is that people are speaking to their AI girlfriends for like hours and hours on end. Someone clocked up 3 hours in one go the other day. So when you look at that, I just think AI coaching makes total sense, but AI girlfriend feels weird right now, but in the future that won't. And in the future, maybe we'll hire robots to look after our kids and our dogs, and there'll be all this stuff that right now seems very strange, but in the future just won't. It will seem totally normal.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, it feels weird right now, like when it comes to this, because on the one side, it's helpful because helping them get better and actually prepare for the real life situation. But in the same time, it was a movie, I think, with Joaquin Phoenix, in which he fell in love with an AI avatar. And
Yeah, it's called
like,
It's Her.
yeah, exactly. And that can be real right now. Like, and I'm hurt. I'm not sure in what community I noticed that they're like, I'm not having any friends, so I'm talking daily with ChatGPT on voice mode for hours. And I was like, wow, that's kind of sad. In the same time, that person feels hurt in a way. But yeah, it's interesting times you're living, that's for sure. And what I just asked you without objection, I don't truly believe it, because I I did believe that few months ago. But right now, I'm seeing as well my clients use AI in different ways and trusting them when it's trained properly with certain amount of data and so on. It's unbelievable. And that's the thing, right? Like, the adaptation level at this point, it's already high. Of course, in certain spaces, certain businesses still struggle to adapt, but it's interesting to see where things will go. And mm, since you're not only involved in this space so often, but we're actually talking with other entrepreneurs and being a senior folks contributor, there are any concern as well when it comes to how this technology not only can improve us and can help us, but there's concern in terms of losing, I don't know, jobs, or making ourselves redundant, especially now with how OpenAI is advancing with AG, and they're almost there. What will happen then?
I think all the concerns are very real. All of them are. And so I think that partly that's like, okay, cool. Like a friend actually, he talks about how he just lives his life like the world's going to end in 10 years. And it's just like, let's just act like that, because then I can just have fun now. I can do my thing now. I can not take myself too seriously right now. I can just kind of go a bit more into living for the moment, which is one way of doing it. And then I think that you've also got this whole idea that it's just adaptation. Like, it's the survival of the fittest. If you have to adapt to survive, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to adapt your business so that you're the one who's running the business, and so that you don't lose your job because you've created your own job and you've created your own success. So there's just 100 different ways of approaching it. I think that probably the scariest one for me is how much technology can know about you and therefore influence you without you even realizing. And one thing quite early on in my career that made me realize how possible this was when I worked at that pizza restaurant that I was telling you about earlier. When I was on when I was on shift, at the end of the shift, often I'd want to stay and hang out and like get a pizza and like just kind of enjoy myself there. And I was like, wonder why this is. And part of the reason that it was because when the evening service was on, I was listening to a track that the whole restaurant was listening to, and I was listening to an album that the whole restaurant was listening to, and it was called "Music to Watch Customers Buy" by like BUY. And the idea was that the music that you were listening to was kind of rewiring your brain to a more frivolous channel. So it was all about being lavish and making big purchases and treating your lady and dressing nicely and being all about the showmanship and that kind of thing. And so what it did was it made you want to act like that. And so that was why me and all the other team members, we were like, this is great. Let's hang out here. Let's just do this. And so that's just a music track. And that didn't even really know us. That was just rewiring our brain in that way. But now you've got everything that knows everything about us, that knows how we think, that knows what our deepest like fears and insecurities are because we've typed them all into ChatGPT. And so that's the scary thing for me, not even the jobs thing, not even the world ending thing, the thing where you could just get you could get pushed down this path that you don't even realize you're getting pushed down. And I guess what we know is people like trying to do stuff our own way, especially if we're solopreneurs and if we're digital nomads, it's not the normal way. We have to already be kind of so set on doing stuff our way that I guess I don't like the idea that that it could be even harder to be yourself, and it could be even harder to go your own way because there's more powerful forces getting you to be like everyone else or getting you to follow their agenda.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that's scary indeed. And in the same time, like I was recently searching, I do that quite often, apart from having tools that are tracking my name. So I was searching my name online, and then I search into Perplexity and other tools. I was like, this is interesting. I love this perspective of me. But at the end of the day, it's based on the podcast that I've been to, articles, and my own website. So I'm like, I kind of control this, right? In the same time, that's true now, but we all know, not sure how much is conspiracy theory and how much is truth, but look at big corporations like Meta and others, that if you're talking about certain topic and so on, and you're suddenly seeing ads about that topic and some other things, so yes, we're probably listened to by them. Will AI do something similar? Almost likely. So yeah, it's a bit scary when you think about it, like how much knowledge they will know about it and how our behaviors will be influenced. But in the same time, we'll maybe go on that part, having more time to do the best things, like being aware of the things that surround us and having more time with ourselves and asking us deeper question and be more aware of the decision that we make. And speaking of that, like you basically design your life the way you want it. And that's kind of luxury. A lot of people are struggling to make it a reality. Do you have any advice for them on how to do that?
I would say write down what you want your dream life to look like. And I would split it by every day, every week, every fortnight, every month, every quarter, every year. Write down everything starts with a blank piece of paper and a table that you draw the lines for. But I would write down those time increments, and then I would write down what you want to have in your life in those different increments. And then I would almost like tick the ones that you already do, because I think so much of your dream life is probably free, because all the best things are, like, it's so cliche, but it's super true. So once you do that exercise, what you might realize is that you're already living a lot of your dream life. And then once you realize you're already living a lot of your dream life, you then start to feel grateful. And there's nothing that makes more amazing things happen than feeling grateful. So I think that's a big part of it. And then whatever is left, that's when you make your plan. And so if it's, I want to eat breakfast out every other day, or I want to go for a nice meal every week, or I want to do this, or whatever it is, write it down and then cost it out. Put an exact cost of how much every single component of your dream life is going to cost, and then work out what that is per month, and then work out what that is per year. And I guarantee you there will be a way of making that money. And it probably will be so much less than you think. I did this exact exercise before I became a digital nomad, or at least before I started traveling for a month at a time. So for 5 years, between about 2015 and 2020, I was traveling for 4 months of every year. And so much of it was based on this exact exercise of realizing that my dream life actually hardly even costed that much. It's like, you don't need to be a multimillionaire to live your dream life. You just need to know what your dream life looks like. And then you need to make enough money to live it. That's it. So I think it's probably very easy to think that it's so far off until you run the numbers, and then you realize it isn't. So that's what I encourage anyone to do.
Love that. And I think there is a concept, not sure who come up with like the freedom number. And when you run the numbers, like you mentioned, you came up with that and you realize, yeah, this actually is much more doable than you think. And speaking of free things, like a lot of people actually want more free time and often struggle with that. I was one of them. And sometimes I'm still am, depending on the path that I'm in and so on. And speaking of that, like I end up after 5 years of full-time nomading in a space that I kind of want to change this. Did you arrive there yet? Or do you think you at least arrived at some point in which you just have like, I had enough of this, I want to settle?
Huh. So I think there are two types of people. There are settlers and there are explorers. And I think the world is set up for settlers because everything's about finding your dream house, finding your dream partner, finding your dream like community and your fixed location and going to department stores and buying cushions and buying stuff for your house that is like permanent and having a dog that you have to walk at. Like everything's set up to settle. And some people just aren't that person. Like if you think of all the Disney princesses that you can think of, Cinderella, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, like every single one, they're all there to find their Prince Charming and to live happily ever after. Not everyone is like that. Some people are Moana. Some people just want to explore. And yeah, they'll go back to like a home and they'll have like a community. But also, your community could be anywhere in the world. Like your home could be anywhere in the world. There's nothing to say that you need to stay somewhere long term to be happy or to be complete or anything. So for me personally, I'm not bored of it yet. Maybe I will be at some point in the future. I used to move location every month. Now it's more like every 2 to 3 months. So the it's more slow madding than nomading. So I guess you could say that that's kind of settling in a way. But I'm not I'm not saying never, but I definitely don't think it has to be that way. I think there are people who nomad their whole lives and they're still happy and they still enjoy it. And therefore they don't need to stop just because society tells them that they have to.
Yeah, true. And it's interesting perspective. And speaking of being a settler or explorer, I felt like my whole life I was an explorer. Even so, at some point, I kind of settled. Like, I end up purchasing an apartment, and I like you mentioned, like, yeah, getting furniture, getting that, until I literally stopped halfway through. Like, my apartment was like half furniture. It's like, what I'm doing here. And it took me years to get rid of that and actually start my nomad life. And now I kind of feel the same thing. Like I want to settle for a bit, but at the same time, something inside me is telling me like I will probably settle, but maybe in like 3 locations, and move between them because I don't want to like be in such a confined place to, oh, I have to stay here for 1 year or 2 years or 10 years. I don't like that. I like the freedom of having the flexibility because you never know. Plus, it's nice to be in different places once in a while. And I'm a strong nomad as well. And same time, sometimes feels too little, 3 months in one place or even 6 months. Otherwise, it sells forever just 1 week in one place. Like we've been recently to Vietnam, and even that third time there, still in its amazing country, but for some reason might not be for me. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting topic. And for those listening that they are dreaming and they see others doing it, living this lifestyle, and they think it's perfect and ideal, can you bust that myth a bit and in the same time test as well the perks of being a nomad?
So the downsides of being a nomad are you recreate your entire life in every different place. And that comes with friction. And that comes from probably losing, I would guess, I'm going to use the phrase home comforts because there will be, even if I don't mean an actual like home, like a physical place that you have that you're permanently, there's still home comforts like which deodorant you want to use or which shampoo you want to use or what time you like to go to bed or what kind of mattress you like to sleep on. Like all these, there are just very small things that you'll probably take for granted until you're a nomad and you realize like, oh, that's like just a thing that isn't a thing anymore. But then I think you learn very quickly to stop needing a certain type of deodorant or stop needing the same brand of shampoo or that kind of stuff. You just realize that you don't need to be a princess. You can actually be happy with very little or just with very little that's fixed or known. So there's certain friction, of course, to traveling. So the actual traveling days when you go between places, often you'll just be completely wiped out from working and from training. So that's a thing. And slow medding helps that because you move less often. So you have fewer of those days. But the upside is that it's very nice being like the foreign person in a new place. I really like that. because I think people gravitate towards you. They ask you where you're from, you meet new friends, you learn a lot about different cultures because you're not going somewhere as a tourist, you're going somewhere as like a local to live there. And that's magic because you start to realize that your view of the world is so shaped by where you grew up. Like all Americans pretty much get taught that America is the best place in the whole world and it's the center of the world. And it's like you're either American or you're like irrelevant. And like there's a thing that every single culture gets taught that you will just accept without questioning until you start living in other places, I think. What other things? I think there's only really good things once you accept that not everything's going to be the same and that you have to have a certain level of flexibility. But then it's figuring out which are the things that are your non-negotiables and which are the things that you don't mind flexing. Because in each new place now, I have quite a good setup and my VA helps a lot with this. And it's stuff like asking the Airbnb the same 5 questions to understand what kind of apartment you're going to get to and what kind of internet speed you have, and knowing certain things that are going to happen before you arrive. That then means it's not such a recreating your life from scratch and it doesn't take so long. I get meal prep in each place. I aim to have roughly the same routine in each place. I live very, very close to the gym that I'm going to join so that travel time is down. I like talking to people who have already been to that place to understand the vibe. I like dropping the little man down on Google Maps to get the lay of the kind of land, to understand what it's going to be like. It's just kind of, you just figure it out as you go along. Book one trip, figure it out as you go along. When you meet people who also do the same, who also do the nomad thing and who have similar interests to you, ask them where they've been and then use that to plan your next trips. So it's a very good idea to base your trips on where people like you like. And it's a very bad idea to base your trips on where people who are not like you like, because you'll just go to places that just you don't vibe with and you're like, why am I even here? This isn't my thing whatsoever. And when you find your favorite places, I think you'll want to keep doing it forever, because I think it gives you this big sense of the world is so big. There's 200 countries. There's all these cities within these countries. Like, of course, I'm not going to settle because I want to see all of the places that could potentially be my new favorite place, and then just keep going.
I love how you paint that perspective. And indeed, when you try to avoid that things will be perfect and it'll be exactly like back home, and you just go with the flow and immerse yourself in this new experience, you realize that most of the things indeed are perks, not downsides. And you tap a bit into your kind of way of structuring things when it comes to a new place and kind of repeating the same thing, like being close to the gym, asking the same question and so on. And going still into this more tactical approach, how do you manage to do so many things being on the road? And even so you're slow nomading, I assume you immerse yourself quite a bit in the culture, like you briefly mentioned. How do you manage to be a first contributor, running CoachVox, being a professional powerlifter, all those things, and in just 24 hours?
So a framework I kind of invented that I quite like and I think about a lot is called the profession. Is the profession, the obsession, and the decompression like framework. So the idea that you have your profession, that's the thing that you do to make money and the thing that you also really love doing. Your obsession, which is the thing that you probably don't get paid for, but it's something that you really love doing and it's the main thing that you do outside your profession. And then you have decompression, which is how you switch off. And so so people who I've taught this framework to then kind of split their life into those 3 things: their profession, their obsession, and decompression, how they switch off. And then they define each one. So for me, decompression is going for walks and hanging out with friends. And my obsession is powerlifting, and my profession is CoachVox and writing for Forbes. But they work together. So I don't really see them as 2 separate projects. It's like just my work. But each of my days is split by those 3 things. I don't multitask between them at all, because multitasking is just the worst thing to do. Because if I was in the gym checking my emails, then my strength would suffer, but also my emails would suffer. If I was working, thinking about training, that wouldn't be a good thing. Even to the point where if I got a delivery and I was in the middle of working, I would not Like, I wouldn't even look at it. Like, I wouldn't start unpacking it and be like, oh, what is this? I'd be like, no, I'm working now. Like, I don't want to like switch tasks like this. So not multitasking is really big, but also I don't do anything else other than those three things. I have very strong saying no muscles, and just say no to everything, because once you design your life and you know exactly what you want it to look like, you don't need to go around that. So that's the main framework that underpins all of it.
I really like that because indeed it's a simple way to look at things. And if you split them in those three buckets, it's much easier after that to decide like if it doesn't fit in those, it's a clear no. And then you know like this is the time for that, this is the time for that, this is the time for that. And that's it. Like you don't have to spread yourself into so many directions. And at this moment in time, when it comes to getting outside help, when it comes to your business, CoachVox, you mentioned that you have a VA, you leverage AI, and it's yourself. Do you have any other help, like developers or?
Yeah. So I run the business with my husband, who's also my co-founder. We have a general manager who is the general manager of my agency, who, when we sold, she went with the agency. She ran it as well. And then I found out that she was looking to leave, and I was like, please, will you come and work with me again? And she was like, yes, of course. So we worked together for a very long time. I love her. I love working with her. So it was awesome that she came to join the CoachVox team when she was ready and when we were ready. And then, yeah, my VA is also our community manager at CoachVox. So and then we have the development team who are they're a agency, but we have full-time developers within that team. So we're on purpose keeping it very small and very lean, because we use AI for a lot of things, and that's intentional. But then it's everyone is very good at what they do. Everyone is very self-sufficient. We're all in different countries. And so it's quite nice running this business compared to my agency, which was 20 people all in the same office in the same physical location. It's so different. And you just have to be appreciative that everyone's on different time zones and in different locations and act accordingly. But I love it.
The power of remote work, right? In a nutshell, like having this distributed team and everyone can do their own thing without micromanaging, without being tied to a physical location, and enjoying the lifestyle and the freedom. It's so powerful. Before we conclude with a small challenge that I want you to ask, I'd like to ask you where people can connect with you, and where can they try CoachVox, and if you can share more about who is ideal for.
Yeah, sure. So I am most active on LinkedIn. So if you search Jodie Cook, JodieCook, say hey there. My site is jodiecook.com. You're welcome to subscribe, say hey, get in touch there. And then CoachVox is coachvox.ai. So CoachVox.ai. It's for top coaches and consultants with content, and especially those who want to use more of their human superpowers and let AI do their marketing. That's the really big thing that the whole platform is for. But yeah, we'd just love to hear from you. If you've listened to this episode, if anything resonates, if you've got a story to share, or if anything made you think in a different way, then for sure, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. And I'll put the links in the show notes as well. And as I mentioned, I'd like to ask you to create a short challenge for those listening. They can apply in less than 1 week to start putting the foundation to build their ideal lifestyle. You mentioned some things in the episode, but if you can put it in a kind of maybe small framework like the one that you share, that would be amazing.
So the challenge to you for the next week is come up with your perfect repeatable day. And that is a day that you could run forever and ever and ever for the rest of your life. If someone told you you could never deviate from this one schedule of how you spend your day, what would you put in it? Write that down and map it out hour by hour, because it will probably include work. It will probably include training. It will probably include some kind of switching off time. Might include certain food places, whatever it is, put it all in there, and then have that, and have like have the benchmark for your dream life before you build it out from there, and before you decide how much you need to fund it and how you can recreate it in different cities all over the world.
Love it. And I'll add a bit to that because I tried the exact same thing before. I was unaware of the power of this exercise. And the way I do it was completely wrong. Like I tried to apply it straight away that exact perfect day. And of course, that's not the case. And the purpose of this exercise, it's an ideal day that you aim to create, not the one that you're actually being able to apply straight away next day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the first thing that you come up with, it's nothing but a hypothesis. And then you're just testing it and you're just seeing it doesn't have to be right straight away. And there's no pressure for it to be right straight away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jodie, for sharing this challenge and as well for all the insight and wisdom that you share. It was an absolute honor to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabe. Really good to chat to you.
You, yes, you're one of the few that stick to the end. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing so. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so below. And if you got any value from this, please share it with a friend. They might got some value from it as well. Thank you so much. And until next week, Pura Vida.